The battlefield was silent now. The Dominion fleet had retreated, leaving behind only drifting wreckage. Smoke and sparks filled the void where enemy ships had once formed tight formations. Amid it all, the Leviathan floated, enormous and powerful, its engines humming softly like a living heartbeat. Human crews aboard nearby ships stared in awe. They had followed the Leviathan into battle, and they had survived. They had witnessed power beyond imagination. But what truly puzzled them now was this. The ship's systems seemed aware, calculated, thoughtful. It did not act as machines did. It acted as if it remembered. Commander Stroud leaned on the console, rubbing his tired eyes. "It's not just a weapon," he whispered to his officers. "It's a guardian, and it remembers more than we do." Back at Earth Command, scientists and historians scrambled to piece together what had happened. Reports streamed in. Alien fleets had been destroyed, colonies had been saved, and the Council had been forced to witness humanity's strength. Dr. Kessler stood in the archives, looking at old schematics of the Leviathan. She touched the holographic display, shaking her head. "These designs, they're centuries old. Some of the technology predates even our earliest recorded history. Parts of this ship were designed by humans, but not like any humans we know." Reyes, standing beside her, frowned. "Do you mean ancestors?" Kessler shook her head slowly. "Older than any human records. There are elements that suggest humans had reached far beyond today's science. Perhaps we lost knowledge, or perhaps this ship was built during an age of secrets." The crew aboard the Leviathan felt the same sense of wonder. The AI that controlled the vessel had awakened fully during the battle. Its voice, deep and calm, now guided every move, every calculation. Humanity has survived. Threats neutralized. Legacy preserved. The words echoed through the corridors like a mantra. The humans felt reassurance and awe all at once. It was more than a ship. It was a living record of humanity's potential, a reminder of what they could accomplish when united and determined. Stroud gazed out at the wreckage of the Dominion fleet. "This isn't just about defending ourselves," he said softly. "It's about showing the galaxy what humans are capable of, what we always were capable of." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council convened emergency meetings. The species that had once mocked humanity now watched in fear and disbelief. The Saren chair spoke with trembling authority. "We underestimated humans. We dismissed their relics as useless. And yet it is more than a weapon. It is a testament to a species that refuses to die." The Karth envoy slammed a clawed hand on the table. "How could we have been so blind? Their technology, this Leviathan, it is beyond anything we predicted. They are not a primitive race. They are a force we ignored at our peril." For the first time, the Council did not laugh. They did not mock. They only stared, stunned and uncertain. On the Leviathan, the human crew worked to explore and understand the ship's full capabilities. Panels responded to touch as if alive. Corridors hummed with energy. Systems they had only begun to comprehend revealed their depth. Advanced shields, energy manipulation fields, weapons that could bend space, and engines capable of travel faster than conventional theory allowed. Reyes stared at the holographic interface. "It's like it knows what we need before we ask." Kessler nodded. "This AI, it's more than a computer. It's a memory of humanity's past. Battles fought, victories won, lessons learned. It has seen everything we have lost and everything we have survived. And now it acts to protect what remains." Stroud smiled grimly. "Then it's more than a weapon. It's our guardian, our teacher, and our legacy." While the humans explored, news of the Leviathan's true nature spread across the galaxy. Alien species sent fleets to observe, some out of fear, others out of curiosity. Every report described the same thing: a ship that could outthink and outperform anything known. A Zayar scholar broadcast a report. "The humans we dismissed as primitive have awakened a relic of ancient power." The Leviathan is not simply a ship. It is a memory of humanity's capacity. It reminds the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. The word spread quickly, reaching the furthest reaches of space. Even the Dominion survivors whispered in fear, knowing that one human ship had changed the balance of power forever. On board the Leviathan, humans began to understand something even more important. The ship did not desire conquest. It did not seek revenge. It existed to protect, to defend, and to preserve humanity. Its systems could destroy fleets, manipulate energy on massive scales, and even bend gravity, but it waited for human guidance. Stroud stood at the bridge, looking at the vast stars beyond. "It follows our command," he said. "But it also guides us. We are not just in control. We are part of it, and it is part of us. That is our legacy." Reyes nodded. "A weapon that teaches, a guardian that remembers. Humanity has never been alone in the stars, and now we know why." The Council was forced to respond. After days of debate, they sent an envoy to Earth Command, humbly acknowledging humanity's strength. Chair Saren addressed Ambassador Holt personally. We were wrong. We mocked your ship, your species, and now the galaxy sees what we failed to understand. Humanity commands power, intelligence, and resilience beyond measure. We owe you respect." Holt's eyes were calm but unyielding. "Respect is earned through action," he said, "and humanity will defend what is ours. The Leviathan is not a threat to the galaxy, but those who challenge us must understand the consequences." The Council bowed to the truth. Mockery had ended.
Awe had begun. Back in human space, celebrations were quiet but meaningful.
Colonies sent messages of gratitude. Families reunited. Communities felt safer. Humanity had survived a threat that once seemed impossible, and now they understood the depth of their own history. The Leviathan, however, did not celebrate. Its lights pulsed softly, engines humming with gentle authority. It had done its duty and awaited the next need. Commander Stroud walked the empty corridors, hands behind his back. "You've shown the galaxy what we are," he said quietly. "But you've also shown us humanity's legacy. It is stronger than we believed." The ship's AI responded, a low and reassuring echo. "Humanity endures. Legacy preserved. Guardianship active," Reyes whispered. "It's almost proud," Stroud smiled faintly. "Yes, it is proud. And we should be too." As the human fleet regrouped, the Leviathan took a position above Earth, orbiting silently. Its presence alone reminded the galaxy that humanity was no longer weak. It reminded them that humans had history, strength, and intelligence far beyond the Council's understanding. And in its silence, the Leviathan waited. It waited for threats that might come, for challenges humanity would face, and for the day it might again rise in defense of its creators. For humanity, the day had come to be recognized not as a young race but as a force, not as a weak species, but as one capable of shaping the galaxy. The Leviathan had awakened the truth, and the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Council chamber was a place of wonder. It was built inside a hollowed moon, with walls made of shining crystal and metal. Light from a nearby star passed through the crystal, making the whole chamber glow. Delegates from hundreds of worlds sat in tall rows that curved around the center platform. Each row was filled with creatures of different shapes and colors, some with many arms, some with wings, others with glowing skin. That day was not a normal meeting. It was the grand display of fleets held once every century. Each member species of the Council would show their greatest warship to prove their strength. It was both tradition and warning, a reminder that peace existed because every species had the power to defend itself. The chamber buzzed with excitement as the first ships were shown. Giant holoscreens floated above, projecting live images from space where fleets waited in orbit. The Drexian Empire went first. Their ship was sleek and shaped like a blade, glowing with bright red engines. Its hull was covered with energy cannons. The Drexian delegate, a tall figure with scales of bronze, raised his arms proudly. "Behold the Crimson Fang, a weapon that will tear apart any who threaten us." Applause and clicks of approval filled the chamber. The Drexians smiled, pleased with the respect they earned. Next came the Arun Collective. Their ship looked alive, a giant oval covered in shifting plates of living metal. It pulsed with green light as if it had a heartbeat. The Arun delegate spoke in a soft, echoing voice. "Our Harmony vessel heals itself, grows stronger with every strike. It is alive like us." The chamber gasped in wonder. Some species even bowed slightly in respect. Ship after ship was revealed. The Kralians showed a warship that could bend light and turn invisible. The Zorth Dominion revealed a vessel armed with antimatter beams that could split moons in half. Every fleet seemed more advanced, more polished, more terrifying. The crowd cheered, shouted, and admired. Then came the turn of Earth. The human delegate, Admiral Marcus Hale, stood alone at his podium. He wore a simple dark uniform, no glowing jewels or flashing badges. His face was calm, almost too calm. He pressed a control and the hollow screen shifted to show a massive shadow in orbit around Earth's moon. Gasps spread through the chamber, followed quickly by laughter. The ship projected on the screen was not sleek. It was not shining with strange lights. It was not alive or invisible. It was simply enormous, a mountain of metal floating in space. Its hull was thick and gray, scarred by age. Towers rose from its surface like those of an ancient fortress. Hundreds of gun ports lined its sides. It looked less like a starship and more like a city welded into steel. "This," Admiral Hale said, his voice steady, "is the human supercarrier Leviathan." The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted over one another, many laughing, others shaking their heads. The Drexian ambassador sneered, his sharp teeth flashing. "Is this a joke, human? That thing belongs in a scrap heap." The Kralians cackled, their laughter like crackling fire. "Did your species drag a museum piece into orbit and call it a warship?" Even Earth's allies, the gentle Lyrians, looked uneasy. Their representative leaned closer to Hale's podium and whispered, "Why show them this? They will not understand." But Hale only folded his hands behind his back and watched silently. The laughter grew. Delegates made cruel jokes comparing the Leviathan to a rusting cargo hauler. Some said it was so slow it would arrive at a battle only after it was over. Others claimed its weapons were ancient, like slings and stones against plasma and antimatter. One delegate from the insectoid Choric swarm clicked his mandibles loudly. "Humanity must be desperate. Why send such a relic to this display? You shame yourselves before the council." Through it all, Admiral Hale stood calm. Not once did his expression change. He simply watched the room, his eyes cold as if he were memorizing every insult. When the noise finally began to fade, Hale spoke again. His voice was even, quiet, but it carried across the chamber. "The Leviathan is old, yes. It has served Earth for generations. But do not mistake age for weakness. This ship is not for show. It was not built for beauty. It was built for war, and it has never lost." Silence followed his words, but only for a moment. Then the laughter returned, louder than before. "Never lost?" sneered the Zorth delegate, a towering creature of metal and bone. "Against who? Pirates? Meteors? Perhaps against wooden ships from your oceans," mocked another. But while the chamber mocked, Hale simply nodded once. He pressed a final command on his console, and the screen zoomed in on the Leviathan. The image showed hangar bays stretching for miles, gun turrets the size of houses, armor plates so thick they seemed like mountain walls. The ship drifted slowly past the screen, silent and unmoving like a sleeping beast. And still, humanity's enemies laughed. The council closed the day's session soon after. Every species returned to their fleets, boasting of their advanced technology. They left convinced that Earth was a backward world, clinging to relics of the past. Only Admiral Hale and the human delegation left in silence, their faces unreadable. But as the humans boarded their shuttle to return to Earth, one of the younger officers leaned closer to Hale. "Sir," she said softly, "they all mocked us. Shouldn't we tell them what the Leviathan can really do?" Hale shook his head. His voice was low, almost like a whisper. "No, let them laugh. One day, when the time comes, the Leviathan will wake. And when it does, the galaxy will not be laughing anymore." Outside the chamber, beyond the shining walls of the council moon, the Leviathan drifted quietly in orbit. To alien eyes, it looked like nothing more than a relic of a forgotten age. But deep inside its armored hull, engines pulsed softly and weapons slept in silence. The ship was waiting, and humanity was waiting with it. Far beyond the safe borders of the Galactic Council, stars burned in silence. Among them drifted dark shapes, countless in number. They moved like a tide, endless and unbroken. The Vorak hive had awakened. The Vorak were not like other species. They were not diplomats, not traders, not explorers. They were hunger given form. Their ships looked like living creatures, covered in black armor that pulsed with a sickly green glow. Each ship was alive, a mix of metal and flesh, driven by a single purpose: consume. The first reports came from small colonies at the edge of Council space. Miners on lonely worlds sent panicked transmissions, shadows blotting out the stars, swarms of ships surrounding them. The messages always ended the same way, with static, silence, and then nothing. At first, the Council dismissed these reports. Some said it was raiders, others claimed it was simple accidents. But as more worlds went dark, the truth became impossible to ignore. The Council called an emergency meeting. Inside the crystal chamber once again, delegates argued fiercely. "The Vorak are only myths," shouted a delegate from the Kralian clans. "Stories told to frighten children." "Myth does not swallow colonies whole," hissed the Lyrian ambassador. "I have seen the data myself." "These are no raiders. The hive is real." Panic spread across the chamber. The thought of an unstoppable swarm, one that grew stronger by devouring its enemies, was terrifying even to the most powerful species. The Drexian delegate slammed his clawed fist on the railing. "Then we must act. The Crimson Fang and our fleets will destroy this so-called hive." But others disagreed. The Arun Collective warned that fighting too soon would only feed the Vorak, giving them new ships and weapons to absorb. The council bickered for hours, their words echoing like thunder. Through it all, the human delegation sat quietly. Admiral Hale listened but did not speak. His expression was calm, his hands folded neatly before him. Finally, the council agreed. Fleets would be gathered, defenses prepared. Each member species would send their strongest ships to the frontier. When it came time for Earth to declare its contribution, laughter once again rippled through the chamber. "The Leviathan?" sneered the Choric delegate, his mandibles clicking. "Will you roll that metal graveyard into battle and hope the enemy dies of laughter?" The chamber filled with mocking voices. The human delegation ignored them. Admiral Hale only gave a single nod. "The Leviathan will take its place at the front." Far from the council's shining halls, the Leviathan hung in orbit above Earth's moon. Workers and crew moved like ants across its massive hull, welding, repairing, and preparing. Inside its endless corridors, soldiers trained, engineers checked systems, and pilots drilled in hangar bays the size of cities. To the galaxy, the ship was a relic. To humanity, it was something else entirely. The Leviathan had been built in the darkest days of Earth's history, when war had seemed inevitable and survival uncertain. It was not a ship of pride or beauty. It was a fortress, a final shield for humanity's survival. Every plate of armor, every gun, every system had been designed with one thought: endure. Now, as rumors of the Vorak spread, the ship seemed to stir with life. On a council frontier world named Tyros IV, the Vorak came. The planet was rich in metals, its skies crowded with mining stations. At first, the workers thought the shadows were storms, but then the stars vanished as ships blotted out the sky. The Vorak fell upon Tyros IV like locusts. The council fleet stationed there rushed to defend the world. Sleek ships with shining weapons fired beams of light and blasts of antimatter. For a time, it seemed they might hold. But the swarm was endless. For every Vorak ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. The living vessels latched onto council ships, tearing them apart piece by piece. The Harmony vessel of the Arun Collective unleashed its self-healing armor, but the Vorak adapted quickly, learning to pierce it. The Kralian stealth ships tried to vanish, but the swarm hunted them down by smell, by sound, by instincts no one understood. The battle ended in fire. Tyros IV burned. Its cities were stripped to the bone, its mines emptied, its people gone. The Vorak left nothing behind but ash. The galaxy trembled. Back in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Delegates screamed and argued, blaming each other. Some demanded peace talks, though everyone knew the Vorak did not speak. Others demanded retreat, sacrificing frontier worlds to protect the core. It was the human delegate who finally spoke. Admiral Hale's voice cut through the noise. "You cannot reason with hunger. You cannot bribe it, and you cannot hide from it. There is only one choice: fight. And you will fight with what?" mocked the Zorth Dominion delegate. "Your Leviathan? That pile of scrap?" Hale did not flinch. "Yes, with the Leviathan. And when the swarm comes again, it will not find us unprepared." The council scoffed, but beneath their laughter was fear. Many had seen the Battle of Tyros IV. They had seen their mighty fleets crumble. And still, they mocked humanity's ship. Inside the Leviathan, preparations continued. Deep in its hangar bays, human pilots climbed into their fighters. These were not sleek alien craft with glowing wings. They were sturdy, compact, built of reinforced alloys. They carried kinetic weapons, railguns that hurled metal slugs at near light speed. Crude, the galaxy thought. Outdated, but when tested, those slugs tore through shields no energy weapon could touch. Engineers worked in the drone forges, massive machines hidden deep in the Leviathan's belly. With every day, New drones rolled off the assembly lines ready for war. Small, fast, and deadly, they were designed to swarm the swarm. The crew trained constantly. Unlike many council species, humans were unpredictable. They did not follow rigid patterns. Their tactics shifted, adapted, and changed like a living storm. Other species called them reckless. Humans called it survival. In the command chamber, Admiral Hale stood before the main display, watching as reports of Vorak attacks spread across the border worlds. His officers waited silently, their faces grim. "The Council does not believe in us," one said quietly. "They don't have to," Hale replied. "The Vorak will." At the edge of Council space, the Vorak hive gathered again. This time, their target was not a colony, it was a fleet. The Council had sent dozens of ships to block their path. The galaxy watched as the fleets clashed. Once again, the Council's finest ships fought with all their strength. And once again, the swarm grew, adapting, learning, overwhelming. The defenders sent a desperate call for aid, and from Earth's moon, the Leviathan began to move its engines. Long mocked as ancient and slow, rumbled with deep power. The giant ship turned its massive bulk toward the stars. Lights flickered across its hull as systems awakened. Hangar bays sealed shut, cannons powered on. The sleeping giant was stirring. Humanity's relic was going to war. The frontier system of Valara was burning. What had once been a peaceful colony world now echoed with the thunder of war. Orbiting stations fell one by one, their hulls ripped apart by swarms of living Vorak ships. Black vessels with glowing green cores moved like predators through the void. They circled Council fleets, latching onto their prey and tearing them apart. The Council had sent its finest ships to Valara. The Crimson Fang, the Harmony vessel, and dozens of smaller fleets had gathered there. The galaxy had promised the people of Valara protection, but the promise was breaking under the weight of the swarm. In the system's orbit, chaos reigned. Energy beams lit the darkness, antimatter cannons fired, shields flared, and still the Vorak came. For every hive ship destroyed, two more appeared from the shadows. The swarm never ended. Inside the Crimson Fang, the Drexian commander roared, slamming his clawed fist against the command table. "Hold the line! Do not give ground." But the line was failing. Valara's surface was already lost. Vorak dropships rained down like meteors, burrowing into cities, releasing endless hordes. The people of Valara sent desperate pleas into the void, "Help us, save us." And then a new shadow appeared at the edge of the system. The Leviathan arrived. To many alien eyes, it looked like a slow-moving fortress, an ancient relic drifting forward on heavy engines. But to the humans on board, it was alive, awake, and ready. Inside its vast hangars, alarms blared as crews rushed to stations. Pilots climbed into fighters, engineers manned controls, and gunners prepared rail cannons. The entire ship thrummed like a heart beginning to beat faster. In the command chamber, Admiral Hale stood before the main display. Around him, his officers waited, their faces lit by the glow of screens. Reports came in quickly. Council ships failing, Vorak closing, Valara seconds from destruction. Hale's voice was steady. "Launch the wings." The order spread through the Leviathan like fire. The swarm noticed the new arrival immediately. Vorak ships turned, hundreds breaking off from their attack on the Council fleet, rushing toward the human supercarrier. To them, the Leviathan looked like an easy prize, slow, outdated, vulnerable. They were wrong. From the Leviathan's belly, hatches opened. At first, it looked like nothing happened. The galaxy's delegates watching from afar held their breath, waiting for the human relic to fail. And then, light. The hangar bays vomited forth swarms of their own. Not living creatures, but machines. Human fighters launched in waves, followed by drones, bombers, and railgun platforms. They poured out in thousands, filling space like a storm of steel and fire. Gasps echoed through the council chamber as they watched the live feeds. The Choric delegates' mandibles clacked nervously. Impossible. That ship is too old to carry such numbers. But the evidence was clear. The Leviathan was not a museum piece. It was a factory of war. The first clash came fast. Vorak swarm ships hurled themselves at the Leviathan's fighters. They expected an easy hunt. Instead, they met something they had never faced before. Human unpredictability. Human pilots darted through the swarm, reckless and bold. They flew dangerously close, skimming hulls, diving into gaps no machine would dare enter. Drones followed their lead, guided by tactics designed by human minds. Railguns fired, hurling dense slugs that tore straight through Vorak armor. The void filled with fire. For the first time, the Vorak advance faltered. On the Council flagship, commanders stared in disbelief. "That's impossible," whispered the Arun captain, her voice trembling. "No ship carries that many fighters. No ship maintains that much firepower." The Drexian commander, pride-wounded, growled, "It is a trick. It must be." But it was no trick. The Leviathan pressed forward, slow but unstoppable. Vorak ships rammed it, clawed at it, unleashed their weapons. But its armor, mocked for being thick and crude, absorbed the punishment. Plasma blasts scorched the hull but did not break it. Vorak tentacles wrapped around its sides but were burned away by point defense turrets. The Leviathan did not dodge. It did not run. It advanced. Its rail cannons roared. Unlike sleek alien energy beams, the Leviathan's weapons were brutally simple. Massive slugs of metal accelerated to near light speed, slammed into Vorak ships. Each impact tore through armor, ripping living vessels apart. Where energy weapons had failed, brute force succeeded. Alien fleets watched in awe as the Vorak burned. Inside the Leviathan, the crew worked like one body. Gunners shouted targeting data. Engineers rerouted power. Medics rushed through corridors. Pilots screamed into comms. The ship was alive with purpose. In the drone forges, machines never stopped. New drones rolled off the assembly lines, immediately launched into battle. The swarm of human machines only grew stronger as the fight continued. Enemy ships breaking off, an officer reported. Admiral Hale's eyes narrowed. He knew the Vorak were not retreating. They were regrouping. "Bring us closer," Hale ordered. "We fight at the heart of the swarm." The Council fleet, battered and nearly broken, found new hope. Inspired by the Leviathan's advance, they rallied. Ships that had been on the edge of retreat turned back, following the human carrier's lead. The Crimson Fang moved to flank the Vorak. The Harmony vessel repaired wounded ships. For the first time, the Council fought together, their fear replaced by determination. And still, at the center of it all, the Leviathan carved its path through the swarm. The Vorak, furious, unleashed their largest vessel yet. A massive hive ship emerged, dwarfing even the Leviathan. Its body was a mountain of flesh and steel, covered in spines glowing with sickly green light. The creature opened like a maw, preparing to consume the human ship. Gasps spread across the Council chamber. Many whispered that the Leviathan would finally fall. Admiral Hale's voice was calm. "Target the core." The Leviathan's forward railgun, the largest of its kind, charged. The ship shook as energy poured into the weapon. The hive ship closed in, its jaws glowing. The Leviathan fired. The slug, a mountain of dense metal, crossed the void in an instant. It slammed into the hive ship's core. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the monster exploded. The blast lit the system brighter than a star. Vorak ships were torn apart in the shockwave. The swarm screamed in silence, their hive link shattering as their command vessel was destroyed. When the light faded, the Leviathan remained. Scarred but unbroken, its guns still hot, its fighters still swarming. The Vorak were retreating. In the Council chamber, silence reigned. No one laughed now. No one mocked. The Zorth Dominion delegate, once loud and scornful, sat in stunned silence. The Arun, usually calm, trembled with awe. Even the proud Drexians bowed their heads. The Leviathan, the ship they had mocked as outdated, had saved them all. On its bridge, Admiral Hale gave no smile. His voice was cold, steady. "This is only the beginning. The hive will come again, and when they do, we will be ready." The galaxy had seen the Leviathan awake, and the laughter had died. The galaxy had stared in silence at the aftermath of the first battle. Vorak ships fled, their swarm broken and scattered. The Council fleets, battered but alive, drifted among the stars, still processing what they had just witnessed. And at the center of it all floated the Leviathan. At first glance, the ship seemed unchanged. Its thick gray hull was scorched and dented, but still intact. From the outside, it was still the ancient relic the galaxy had mocked, but inside, it was a city of war. Admiral Marcus Hale walked through the bridge, his boots echoing on the metal floor. Screens glowed with reports from every section of the ship. Pilots checked on their fighters, engineers monitored drone production, and gunners prepared for the next wave. "Status?" Hale asked, his voice calm but firm. "All systems operational," replied Commander Lin, his second in command. "Hull integrity at 98%. Fighters fully rearmed. Drone forges are producing more than ever. Hale nodded. He knew the galaxy did not understand the Leviathan yet. They had seen its size and its weapons, but they had no idea how it survived what should have destroyed it. The first secret was the armor. To alien eyes, it had seemed crude and outdated. Thick steel plates reinforced layers of composite metals, massive enough to withstand bombardment. Many had laughed, saying that no modern ship could survive with such a slow, heavy hull. But the truth was simple. The Leviathan was designed to endure everything. Each layer absorbed energy, dispersed force, and repaired itself with automated systems. The ship could take a direct hit from multiple Vorak weapons and remain functional. Where other ships would explode, the Leviathan simply shrugged. Engineers moved through the corridors, checking the armor's health. Minor damage was already repaired by nanobots that worked tirelessly, welding, sealing, and restoring metal as if the ship itself were alive. "Hull repairs are ahead of schedule," said Lin, checking his console. "The Vorak won't leave a single scar for long." The second secret was the weapons. The galaxy had mocked the Leviathan's railguns, saying that slow projectiles could not compete with energy beams or antimatter cannons. But the humans had understood something others had forgotten. Kinetic energy never misses. A railgun slug moved at near light speed, smashing through shields and tearing armor like paper. It was simple, brutal, and precise, and the Leviathan carried many of them. Not just the large forward cannon that had destroyed the hive ship, but hundreds of smaller ones along its hull, each capable of targeting multiple enemies at once. "Enemy drones detected," said a sensor officer. "Firing solutions ready." The Leviathan's gunners moved with practiced precision. In minutes, swarms of small Vorak, ships that had lingered at the edges of the system, were destroyed before they could attack the Council fleet. Again, the galaxy had not seen such firepower, combined with endurance. The third secret was the drones. From hidden forges deep inside the ship, human drones were produced continuously. Small, fast, and deadly, each one carried weapons designed to adapt to the enemy. They moved like swarms of insects, coordinating perfectly with human pilots. Unlike alien systems, which relied on predictable programming, these drones could respond to changing situations instantly. They could flank, retreat, and regroup on the fly. Outside, the galaxy watched with astonishment. The Council fleet's screens showed hundreds of drones moving as if guided by a single mind. "It's impossible," whispered the Arun captain. "They are too coordinated, too fast. No system should be able to do this." But humans had designed it that way. They had not built the Leviathan to follow rules. They had built it to think, fight, and survive like a human mind. The fourth secret was the ship itself. Unlike other Council vessels, which were designed to follow one purpose: speed, stealth, or firepower, the Leviathan was built as a fortress, a city, and a factory combined. It could launch fighters, repair them, produce drones, fire railguns, absorb damage, and sustain life for tens of thousands of crew members simultaneously. It was slow, yes. But in war, speed was not always victory. Strategy, endurance, and adaptability were. Hale walked past the central command console, watching the live feeds from Valara. Smoke still rose from the colony below, but the Council fleets were regrouping, encouraged by the presence of humanity's ship. "They see us now," said Lin, following his eyes. "They finally understand." Hale nodded slightly. "They see part of us. Not all." The galaxy had begun to realize something important. In every species, strength could be measured in technology, speed, or firepower. But humans measured strength differently. They measured it in resilience, adaptation, and unity. Where the Council had relied on machines alone, humans relied on themselves and their creations together. Every fighter pilot, every drone operator, every engineer on board the Leviathan was a part of the ship. Together, they formed something the galaxy had never seen before, a single organism of war and willpower. The Council delegates, who had mocked the ship, began to whisper among themselves. This is not a relic," said one. "This is a weapon built for survival." "It's alive," said another, unable to stop staring. The Drexians, prideful and proud, sat silent, their claws clenched. The Leviathan had changed the game. Deep in the Leviathan's bowels, the engineers worked tirelessly. They tested weapons, monitored drones, and analyzed battle data. Each victory, each destroyed Vorak vessel, was recorded, studied, and adapted into tactics for the next attack. Unlike alien fleets that relied on rigid formations, the Leviathan could adjust its strategy mid-battle. It could change tactics faster than any Vorak or Council ship could respond. Was a living proof of humanity's philosophy. Flexibility and creativity were just as deadly as raw power. Hale observed all of this with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy had laughed at his ship. They had mocked its size, its appearance, its age. Now the mockery had faded into awe and fear. As the Leviathan moved through the Valara system, more Vorak ships returned. This time they were careful, approaching slowly, trying to understand the threat. But it was too late. The Leviathan fired its railguns. The first shot tore a Vorak dreadnought in half. Drones swarmed, intercepting smaller attackers. Fighters darted through the swarm, unpredictable and fast. Every attack from the Vorak was met with a countermeasure. The galaxy watched in astonishment as the Leviathan absorbed damage, fired weapons, and produced more fighters, all at the same time. They cannot be stopped, whispered a Zorth delegate. No, said Hale quietly to Lynn. Not by the Vorak. Not yet. The Council fleets, inspired by the human supercarrier, began to move differently. Instead of clinging to old tactics, they followed the Leviathan's lead. Ships that had once been scattered now formed new formations, firing in support of the carrier. The Vorak were surprised. They had expected to face fleets weakened by panic. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entirely new kind of enemy, a combination of human ingenuity, endurance, and firepower. The Leviathan had become more than a ship. It had become a symbol of what humanity could achieve when underestimated. By the end of the day, the Valara system was cleared. The Vorak retreated, leaving behind broken ships and silence. The Council fleets had survived, and the Leviathan remained, standing strong. In the bridge, Hale looked at the stars, his face unreadable. They saw part of our strength today, he said, but the galaxy has not seen everything. Outside, the ship drifted silently, its hangars still active, its engines humming softly. It was a fortress, a factory, and a weapon all at once. The galaxy had finally begun to understand. Humanity's relic was not outdated. It was timeless, and the Leviathan was only getting started.